different. You said it took you a minute to get there. What were you doing before? Because I think most of us can resonate, even when we don't think we're trying to be like everybody else. Most of us can resonate with just feeling like this is not really me.
Yeah, I was working the corporate job, really good corporate job, doing the dinner party thing, doing the late night cocktails thing, doing, checking all the boxes that I think we were supposed to check by the time we were a certain age, right? And I quit all that. I just stopped it because I was having migraines. I was insomnia, all these physical symptoms, let alone the relationships and everything else that were being torn apart. And really started to just say, hey, look, I got to take care of myself. The signs were coming out. I had a 3-year-old who at 6 a.m. or maybe about 6:30 in the morning, he's going to the refrigerator, getting a sippy cup full of milk or whatever. And he says, Mama, you want your beer? And I'm like, Mama doesn't drink beer at 6:30. But that was what mommy drank. Like, I was in that cookie cutter world, it's end of the day, pour me a glass of wine. And so I went from that to, I've taken a break from alcohol. For now, I'm on like 3 years of taking a break. And I get up really super early, and people kind of freak out about that a little bit because it's like 3:34 in the morning sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm a late person. I go to bed when you're getting up. I go to bed like around 2 or whatever. I can't even imagine. So you were in the corporate grind, and most of us have been there, got a lot of great things from the corporate grind, but definitely want to do that for the rest of my life. And then you broke off to what was the first thing you did when you left, when you decided to do your own thing?
I created my own version of the corporate grind. Cookie cuttered it out. I was making apps. So I'm the first woman to launch an iPhone app. So I've always kind of stepped out of the norm a little bit, tipped my toe in the water, but never dove head first. And I was the first woman to create an app, and it's a gratitude journal app. Gratitude has completely changed my life around. So I wanted people to start a gratitude habit. Mm-hmm. And instead of following that passion of mindset and personal health and wealth and all that other stuff, I ended up following how can I make apps for other people and creating an app agency because everybody was coming to me to make an app. Mm-hmm. And many years later, I took the DISC profile and realized why that was such a hard role for me to have as an app agency owner. So I still make apps, but it's like very particular, one at a time. It has to be the right client. We're not a factory that's just producing them all the time. And what I've focused on instead is helping mainly women. I have a few men, but helping them step out of that box as well and into their true self and shamelessly making lots of money doing what they love to do.
Yeah. Sidebar. Was your last name always White?
No, it was. So that's why I'm married.
I bought your ebook. Like when you literally, like it was like the first one, and it was an ebook, and then it kind of went through your gratitude thing. Like I bought that. How amazing is that? Like at least 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
At least, right? Okay. Yeah, that was you.
Yes. Yeah. So there's all these people and they've gotten my app, like they've got my app 10 years ago. Yeah. And people would come to me who had gotten my app and said, look, I want some more. I want more. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm like, my 3-year-old's giving me a beer in the morning. I don't think I'm ready to coach you right now. I don't think I'm in that space. And then what I did was I transformed my life around. Like I radically changed it. I didn't move home or anything like that, but I changed who I was. Yeah. Or I came home to who I was more. I got rid of the mask. And when I did that, I thought, well, can this work for other people? And so I reached out to a few people who had gotten my app and I said, all right, I'm just looking for like 5 people who are fed up with life and want to turn it around. That sounds like you contact me. I go, man, over 1,000 replies.
Yeah, a lot of people were like me, raising my hand. Yeah, definitely. All right. So you transformed your life. You came home. I love the story about your child saying, "Hey, you good? You want your beer, whatever." That's hilarious. And so and so you come home. You kind of start to step into this new direction. And what was the first wall you hit that made you maybe want to rethink it? Because it's like in movies. I teach screenwriting. There's always the call to greatness, right? And then in the movie, the hero rejects the call to greatness because it's a lot, it's big, it's whatever.
Yeah.
What was your call to greatness? And then did you accept it on the first time out?
No. That was like all those people reaching out to me, like little text messages and things like that, like help me. And I was just, no, I'm not in a place to help you. I think I was further along than I was giving myself credit for. I'd go for these long walks and I'd listen to these inspirational speakers. When the first time I'd hear them, I knew what they were going to say next. Like this was stuff I already knew, but I didn't trust that I had it in me. I had that imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to coach these people?
Yeah. Yep. So you didn't accept it, but then, sometimes it's poverty that makes us accept it, because I had the same experience. I was like, I can't possibly be asking me to do this. And then it's like, yeah, but you're kind of tired of poverty. Like, there's something that makes us take the leap. What was it for you?
Yeah, it absolutely was. I wanted to go to an event and I didn't have the plane tickets. And so that's when I wrote to my list. I'm like, who's fed up with life? Tell me, I'll change your life for $500. And I thought that was so much money. Like, I was like so nervous asking them for that money. And they're like, that was the best $500 I ever spent. Holy crap.
Yeah. So it's called Big Time Business for a reason, Carla. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was because I know the level that you play. And so many people need to be kind of unhinged and unchained from the untethered from the small life, I can't do this or whatever. What would you tell people who are in this space? They're in that walkway of wanting to play at a higher level, not quite believing that they can play at a higher level. What would you say to someone who's on that journey right now?
Yeah. Have they asked anybody? Because that was my big thing. I never even asked anybody, or I never even put myself out there like, okay, I can help you. I never even did that, number one. Because I always believe the two things standing in your way of wealth are, one, having a product or service, and two, selling it. Like, that's all you need. There's two. Don't overcomplicate it. And if you're thinking you don't have something to offer, realize everybody's at a different place. I wouldn't consider it behind, like somebody's advanced and one's behind. I don't like that comparison of pedestals and things like that. But somebody's hasn't quite walked the path that you've walked. And what if you could shortcut it? Like, what if you could turn around and talk to yourself 5 years ago and give yourself some advice to shortcut the whole process? Wouldn't you want to do that? And there's people there. There are so many people there. I mean, seriously. And if you're looking at anything, 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So if you can help somebody get more wealth, do it. What is it? 75% of Americans are on prescription drugs, and 8 of the top 10 are for stress-related illnesses. So if you can reduce somebody's stress, do it. It's just so many areas that people need you.
So what I love about what you just said is a semantic. It's because instead of saying, if you want to learn how to make money, I love that you did not say that. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but that you use the word wealth, that you said that's a word that most people will not use. And even if they're trying to get people who may not be at a certain financial level, they will say, hey, everybody, if you want to make money, because I use that phrase and there's nothing wrong with it. But I liked that you said, when we started to talk about wealth building, why? When did you make that shift? Because most of us don't come out of the womb saying, let's talk about wealth building, right? Yeah. When did you start to make that shift, and what's that been like?
Yeah, it's interesting because I always had a cap on wealth, on how much wealth I was making. And when I hit it, I would always bounce backwards. And then because I had this limited mindset that if I was taking from somebody else, then they had less. And that was very short-sighted of me, Because if I was taking, like, if somebody gives me $5, they got the experience of using that $5. And then I get the experience of using that $5. And then whoever else that passes on to. So that $5 is worth a lot more than $5, and it's unlimited. So to shift that around in your head and realize that when you take a slice of Susie's pie, Susie isn't going without. She might get 5 slices back.
Yeah.
Probably will. So thinking about the results that you're giving them rather than what you're taking from them, just constantly focusing on that. And when I made that shift, I was getting such better results with my clients as well, because I wasn't thinking dollar per hour sort of mindset.
Right.
It was just like, how can we get the results quicker? Like, what do we need to do?
What do we need to do? Okay. And so what was the biggest knock on the head that you got when you started turning that corner? Because for me, when shifting from, kind of financial freedom to wealth was like a big old turn around, like the bend. And when you started to make that shift, certain things happened with me. People in my family start going, oh, I hear you're this, I hear you're that. Whatever, right? And then you're like, whoa, wait a minute, this is a good thing. So that was one of my big kind of crashes on my way. What were some of yours?
So it's interesting, so there were a couple of things. In order for me to make that bend, I had to realize that I had a gift. And it was my duty to share that gift. And in order to share it, I had to charge people for it so I could share it at a greater magnitude. Mm-hmm. That's one big thing that I had to overcome. Like, I didn't realize I had that gift. So then when that came into being, things like came together. People came out of the woodwork. I had like a mastermind filled up. I had all these wonderful clients. I love them to death. I'm finally working with my ideal clients. Mm-hmm. And I came out a lot more in who I was, like everywhere. And I forget who's seeing that. Yeah. And for example, when you talk about family members, there's sometimes, like, I've been to a family wedding not too long ago and people are like, oh my gosh, Carla, because they kind of like you better when you're a doormat, right? And so there were a few of those, but then there were also a couple of quiet conversations with people that I would never expect they'd come to me and ask for some help. And I am so glad that they have seen whatever they've seen. They realize that, hey, I can come to her and it's a good conversation. Like, they feel they can confide in me. And that right there was such a huge breakthrough, because I always used to be sort of the messed up person, the mommy who's having a beer at 6 a.m., right? That's not somebody who in your family is going to turn for advice all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much, because a few years at our family reunion, one of my cousins, not a cousin, like, I'm close to some of my cousins, but then some of them I just see at family reunions. And one of my cousins said, who's been watching. I love that you said that, like, they're watching and they're paying attention. He came over and he says, I see all the stuff you're doing and I'm so amazed with that. Why haven't you taught us this? Yeah. Oh, I could literally cry right now, because I didn't know they wanted to know, like I really didn't. And he was like, why haven't you taught us this? Like, the wealth, the financial, the business, like, you've had all this stuff. And he was really emotional. He's like, you had all of this. We didn't know you did. And we see you online. And why didn't you teach us? And I was like, whoa, okay. Like, I get it. Because sometimes we try to hoard our gifts, because, as you said, like, I didn't realize I had those gifts. I was just doing what I was doing. Yes. And I didn't want to go, hey, by the way, you need to do this, you need to do this, because I feel like whosoever will come. Yes. And so that was an absolutely amazing experience. So now you're in this space where you just said you have your ideal, I call them your ideal clique, right? Your ideal audience. Yeah. There. And what's that experience been like for you?
What's interesting is, I believe you were at this event too, Funnel Hacking Live, last February. And there's a gentleman, Garrett White, Garrett White got on stage. And I can't remember what he spoke about. Now, he's a very powerful speaker.
Mhm.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Before he was on stage the last day. And so I'm exhausted because, at this event, you get like 5 hours of sleep a night, if that. And it's a high energy. And I call home. I got 2 little boys. The 4-year-old is having a meltdown, and I can't crawl through the phone to comfort him. So mama's feeling like that guilt. And then I go into this Garrett White event, which is really high charged, very emotional speaking.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he told us to write down, but I remembered writing down, who's going to take care of me? If I do this, if I put myself out there, who's going to take care of me? Feeling like, who is it? If I'm leading, who's taking care of me? So fast forward is like about a month ago, I think. And I have this live challenge that I do with my tribe, and I wasn't getting people into my live challenge. It's just like summertime, whatever. And the people who are in my clique like rallied this so hard. They more than filled it up. And little did I know that the people that were going to take care of me were the people I was taking care of. Like, it doesn't just go one way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So people are hearing this and they are either right now you're watching us, you're either like on fire or you're like feeling extremely convicted or you're like, oh my goodness. Because that's just what is happening right here in this moment that I have with Carla. So Carla, let's talk a little bit about what who are the people that you attract? Who are the people that you work with and some of the things that they are doing in their lives?
Yeah. So when I create my perfect avatar, she's usually disconnected from her gift at some point. And like they have a stronger message, and I call them soulpreneurs. It's usually dealt around their heart centered, and some sort of spirituality involved, some mindset or health in some sort. And they just don't know the process of taking that gift that's been given to them and bringing it on a larger scale on stage. And so we work through that and we do it together, and we're sharing each other's audiences to help each other grow. And it's so much fun. It's so awesome to see them come out of their shells and expand their butterfly wings.
The soul's work. That is so amazing. Absolutely amazing. Would you have thought 20 years ago, what if someone had talked to you, we'd had this conversation 20 years ago, and I said, what's your vision, Carla? What are you going to be doing in 20 years? What would you have thought you would have said about that?
Yeah, hopefully by then I would have been retired, sitting on a beach. I had this idea that having fun in life was doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, how wrong that is, to just sit and do nothing and, I don't know, wait for something to come into your life rather than create it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I really felt like I had a limited vision of the future because I grew up on a farm. And when you grow up on a farm, there's like 3 role models, mother and a wife, a teacher and a nurse. That's about all you saw, and then maybe you got to see LA Law where there was a woman being a lawyer and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. She's like, dressed up in a suit and all sorts of stuff. And so then that's the vision of like, oh, that you can do that, it was so limited, but to realize that, hey, you can actually wear the clothes you want to wear, act how you want to act, be who you want to be. Mm-hmm. When you do that, the more you do that, the more you attract the people you want to work with as well.
Yep, absolutely. So we're bringing it home. Got one more question in this area, and that's about failure. I saw something on my Facebook page this morning, my profile this morning. Someone said, people aren't posting their failures on social media, right? And I know that was a big generalization because that's not true for me at all. Because I love sharing the things I've screwed up on. I shared last week on my profile that when I moved to LA, I started doing stand-up comedy because I needed to do something daring. I needed to do something that was out of my, normal path or whatever. And I remember going to the Comedy Store doing my comedy. I was just getting it. I was killing it every week, Carla. And then I decided I wasn't going to prepare for this bit. and I bombed. Like people were in the audience like, really? Like, what is, right? So I wanted to share that because I think people see us sometimes and they think, your life is fabulous and you never have a misstep and you never do, and everything is always perfect. And I'm like, that's your perception. You're putting that on us, because if you will listen to us, you haven't been listening if you're hearing perfection, because I'm definitely out there going, let me tell you how I just screwed this thing up or whatever. So, but I think people are really fascinated by the failures of successful people. That's a good title for a book, The Failures of People. So how do you handle failures, whatever you call them? I call myself a case study. I'm a repetitive case study.
Yeah.
How do you handle those when those happen?
Yeah, man. Every single day I have one, you know, you can't, geez. And a lot of it is, what am I learning from this? Obviously that's cliche, right? That's cliche. You can't learn it until like it's hindsight, and it's the emotion is kind of even left your body. Like you're kind of numb to it. You kind of can laugh at it a little bit. Then you're starting to learn the lesson. But, you know, I kind of still do this. I'm really pretty bad at this. Beat myself up about making a mistake. So like today, for example, I went live. I have this live challenge every day. I'm going live with my group. Every morning I wake up, I prepare my live and I have everything ready and I go through it a couple of times. So when I get in there, I'm high energy. I do great.
Yep.
I'm washed out today. I bet they could feel it. You're like, and I'm kicking myself because I'm feeling exhausted, you know, and that's, I feel like, we set ourselves up to fail when we set those standards so darn high every single day. Like, what if you just kind of give yourself a break every now and again and, you know, send positive energy out to the world, be yourself. And this is really hard for me because I've come from like when you're in that corporate world, man, you can't show everything's just on the up and up and peachy, and everything else you leave at the door. And one thing I'm working on right now is a project. They're doing a little video about my life. And I will tell you, most of my life has been like some major crashes. Like, I don't know how I can still be here alive, given the stuff I put myself through. And so I'm going to start pulling out some old photos, pulling out some old videos that I cringe at looking at. And I'm going to embrace those, because like, instead of taking those failures and beating yourself over the head with them, why not use them as your gift? That's your gift. Yeah.
That's the stuff that really transforms people too. When people introduce me, and you probably have this experience, and they talk about all the highs and all this whatever, and then I go, not even to be self-deprecating, but honestly, just to say the only reason that's impressive is because of where I came from. Like the journey I had to take to get there. That's amazing. That part is amazing. Like, yeah, I'm glad I got there. But if you thought, you know, when I was in high school that I would be a WNBA champion from falling out in practice, like fainting almost in practice, like nobody thought I was going to do the things that I did. That's what makes it amazing. And as you said, when people know that past and those struggles, those are the beautiful gifts and the gems and the treasures that make this so absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And someone actually put on my profile today, they posted on their profile that people used to laugh at them for reading because Toni Morrison died yesterday or day before, whatever. Yeah. Like, people used to laugh at me because I was reading these books, and I post and I go, most of the people, I love stories that start with people used to laugh at me, because now I go, hey, look at me now though. Look at me now.
Yeah, right?
I made it.
Here's the thing, like, you will never know health unless you've been sick. Right?
Yeah.
You don't know how awesome health is unless you've been sick. And you don't know how awesome success is unless you messed up severely.
Totally. You're like, this is great. I'm grateful for that other stuff, but this is a good friend of mine. Well, Myron Golden, who's a good friend of mine, said, rich is way more better. Rich is way more better.
Oh my gosh. We try and fool ourselves that there's something noble about being broke, and there is nothing noble about it. It's
not one thing. All right, Carla, we are wrapping up. This has been absolutely amazing. Obviously, we're both business women, and there are tools and tips and systems that we need to kind of keep us from going crazy. So
Yeah.
what's one tool that you're using right now that's making your life easier or your business easier?
Oh my gosh, I have to say it's my gratitude journal. It's the one saving grace that has helped me through all of this. Year in, year out, day in and day out.
Wow.
Seriously,
Wow.
it keeps me pointed to the North Star. So you don't need the app. You can just like get a pencil and a piece of paper, but use it religiously. I actually call it my memoir for my children, my memoir of my life best moments. So maybe one day they'll want to look at it.
One day it will seem cool to them. Parting thoughts. That this can be your wisdom for the people watching and listening, or it can be some wisdom that someone imparted with you.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. I'm going to leave it like, you may think that nobody needs your service, right? There's sometimes when you sit there and you go, who would buy from me?
Right.
I have zero talents, whether you're like 12 or 82, it doesn't matter. There is always somebody out there, but have you asked? Just have you asked? Like, give yourself that challenge. Like, put something together, any sort of offer, and just ask if anybody wants it. And you can offer it for free just to see who pops out of the woodwork. And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at who would pay you for what you love to do most.
Absolutely. And where can people find out more about you? Where do you want to direct people so that they can connect with you?
Sure. So my website is carlawhite.org. That's Carla with a C. And you can get my app by going to thegratitudeapp.com.